what do you think that, I'm looking at this, we're in New York. I mean, this city pays a bulk of the taxes that go in the United States to Washington, D.C. The president comes here, and I don't want to say it was, I don't want to badmouth him or say it was a photo op and stuff like that, but he promised no red tape. And these people have been through a rigmarole of red tape more than ever. Not to mention that Chuck Schumer, I'm not going to let any insurance companies do anything to stifle the people and to getting there what they're supposed to deserve for their homes and things like that. And it's been anything but, and you don't see him again. I don't like the idea or the fact that we seem to be like the forgotten child. They're fixing a beach in Brooklyn. What's that over there? I forget the name of that beach.
Coney Island?
No, not Coney Island. Not Coney Island. It's Plum Beach. Plum Beach is right on the Belt Parkway.
Beach, yeah.
I understand that they had to extend the beach for protection, erosion going onto the highway. However, they raised it about 7, 8 feet high. Okay, you can see the dune when you get there. All right? And what significance does that do but keep the water off the highway when we have people, if we get a bad storm, they're going to die?
That's true.
How can you measure life against nothing?
Traffic flow.
A traffic flow. That's what's really getting to me, that our governor, he's sitting on his hands. Nothing's happening here on Staten Island. I was down on Sprague Avenue, down at the very end. There is no beach.
Is this in Tottenville?
Yeah. Anyway.
Well, look, we can't really comment on that. That's a politics.
Politicians photo op, but you know what? Our local politicians are trying.
What you'd have to
but the
do is
money's
get
not
the
flowing.
politicians here and talk to them. But I could just comment on the local geology of the area. I'm an expert in that.
Okay.
And remember, we have a lot of low-lying areas on the South Shore of Staten Island, the southeastern shore.
Yeah, it's true.
If you look at the 1890 maps, you'll see wetlands there
Yeah,
with
I know.
hardly any.
I know.
Now, a contour line is a line of equal elevation.
Yeah.
When I looked at these maps, I saw the shoreline, and way inland is a 10-foot contour line. So between that and you have 10 feet. Now, remember that we also have the effect of global warming. Now,
I want to come back to you on this one here.
Okay.
I just want to get Lisa's input from what happened. Lisa,
Hi,
introduce yourself.
I'm Lisa DiGennaro.
Spiritual interest, enthusiast.
I was not a Sandy victim, thankfully, but I was active in Sandy recovery and volunteer. My heart just went out to everybody. I live in Tottenville, so the next morning, first of all my cousins came over and we just all stayed together. And the next morning, we all got up and decided to walk and check out what had happened. We knew the storm was bad, but never had any idea what we were about to witness. And it looked to me like a movie set. It was very surreal. And anybody who you came across in the street, everybody looked like zombies just walking around, just amazed. No matter how old you are, no matter what, nobody ever realized how bad it was if you weren't hit. Now, these gentlemen, obviously, you were realizing what was happening in your own life, in your own house, but you probably still didn't have any idea how bad it was, and lives were lost, and thank God, you guys are here. I had, 2 blocks away from me, we had a family, the whole house just went down on the ground, and they lost their lives, and it's just, so I guess I had like survivor's guilt, that we were okay, and then my brother Steve and I, we, just went out and volunteered every day. And
Well, where you live, you're down in harm's way. You were down in harm's way.
Yeah, well,
You're
initially,
you're below the boulevard, not much below, but you're there.
yeah, we were lucky though. Like I said, I mean, we lost some, shingles on the roof. I mean, nothing.
Who didn't lose those?
Yeah,
You know?
but and initially we helped out in Tottenville because I didn't even want to drive around. You know, I didn't know how the roads were. I figured let them
Well, how did
stay
you get
open.
involved with that group, the one that you were going house to house, breaking out sheetrock and doing
Well,
mold?
at first, we just left our house every day and walked to wherever we were going to go. And it was really, you know, a crazy, it was chaotic. Nobody was in charge. Nobody, you just show up with, you know, a shovel and gloves, and you just go up to people and say, can I help you? And, you know, you don't know what you can do either. I mean, I didn't know what I can do. But, you know, it went from sifting through people's photos all over
I know.
to, you know, just helping people in whatever facet, you know, there is. And then we wound up going to other areas. I got my car, and I'm a real estate agent, and I know other business owners.
Right.
And we decided, we formed this own group. There's a group called Team Determination, and they were already formed, but Sal Crisciolo was a member of that, and we all were like a grassroots group, and we just started helping
So
people
basically, you
together.
formed yourselves, and you just were helping
Yeah,
out
it was
everybody.
like all business owners, and you know, maybe Steve, you know.
I know, because I was talking to Steve a lot at that time, during the time about the mold issue.
Yeah, he
I've
can
had,
fill you
yeah.
in. Like, he did a lot of mold remediation.
Well, that's basically what I would like to speak to him about, is on that subject, because it's a very deadly thing and terrible for children. I mean, we as adults, you know, have all the habits, we smoke, we this, that, and that doesn't affect you so bad now. As you
Right.
get older and older, it may come out, but children affects right away.
Not only that, you know, I'm so sick of us being a reactive nation. You know, we need to learn from this. I mean, yes, Sandy was like no other, but obviously they're saying, and you can correct me if I'm wrong,
Yeah.
that the weather is changing. And
Well,
we need to.
Yeah, I mean, there's trends now. I went to a symposium the other day at the Graduate Center of City University of New York, and we had a climatologist speak there, and he was talking about the melting of the Arctic sea ice,
Mhm.
the warm trend, and what happens is the jet stream's making a lobe around our area, so that's probably why Sandy came in. It might happen again.
Right.
But I think
That's-
also we have to address other issues, like why didn't people evacuate?
Absolutely.
I mean, if the mayor gets on TV and says evacuate, that's the time to evacuate.
The main reason-
Anybody, I'll tell you a story. I was looking at the testimonies from Hurricane Ike, which hit the Gulf Coast a while ago, and I have the video. I didn't bring it with me, but they interviewed a fellow who stayed around, and the water was coming up and up and up like people have described before. And he finally, his cell phone was working, he called 911. Here's what they told him to do: write his name on his body.
Wow.
Wow.
Write your name on your body, so when we find the body, we know who it belongs to. And try to, if you get out there, try to hold on to like a cooler or something. They weren't even going to send first responders in to get them killed.
No, you put them in harm's way.
So once the orders for evacuation are given, and they were given, I mean, I have to say here, I'm not faulting anybody, but the mayor got on days before. We knew 5 days before that
We went
this was a
inside.
problem. By 3 days, by 2 days, you knew it was making a right angle into New Jersey. And again, that's the time to get out. Also, as far as cars go, you know, Staten Island offers us very high topography. You don't have to go too far. Now, in Louisiana, you may have to drive 100 miles or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
In Staten Island, if you drove above Highland to Richmond Road, you have your car on safe ground.
Mhm.
You drive to the Staten Island Mall or some other place. I could not believe how many cars were submerged. I drove along Father Capodanno Boulevard. I recorded all of this, and I saw, with no exaggeration, hundreds of cars underwater.
Underwater.
Because you have a bowl
Unbelievable.
over there. See, once the storm surge goes over Father Capodanno, it goes
It
into
does,
the
yeah.
bowl
I
and
see.
can't get out.
No, that it can't recede.
And so the water can't recede. I saw a car. I couldn't believe how many
Yeah.
cars were underwater
Mhm.
on the western side of Father Capodanno.
Lisa,
So, I mean,
okay.
as far as education goes, now a few people in my, you know, I mean, there's certain things that could be done in the future. I would say this: the mayor of New York City gets on and says, "Evacuate,
Yeah.
evacuate." Now, I will say one other thing: they are going from A, B, and C evacuation zones to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This will come out next month. So they have 6 evacuation zones now. And they're going to announce like evacuation zone 1, 2, 3. It depends on the particular
The zone area,
situation,
correct?
because
The zone areas.
my studies revealed that with Sandy, some of the surge came past Zone A into Zone B in some
Right.
areas.
Yeah.
And so
Makes
now we're going to have
I've heard
6
that.
evacuation zones. You're going to hear about this.
All right.
So when the mayor, whoever happens to be the next mayor, I hopefully won't get it hit again before the next mayor gets elected. But mayor gets on evacuate,
Get out.
that's the time to evacuate.
Lisa, when you were down there, speaking of this particular issue, when you were down there, you were hearing the stories, the plights of these people. I know right by your house, a couple of people lost their lives.
Yes,
Was it Yetman?
Yetman, yes.
Yeah, there
My
was-
son was
there was-
involved in the rescue there. He was a police officer. He was decorated for that. And the guy happened to be a canine cop.
Wow.
And they rescued his family, and who went to the hospital, hypothermia, all this stuff. But anyway, the stories that you heard, the human stories, because you were there working on these people's houses, the tears, the zombie look, I've still seen that for months after this.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? I mean, you go down to where these guys live,
yeah.
and it's a war zone.
And you know what else too? It just amazes me how I don't know why, but all the stars and all the TV stations and everybody says donate to the Red Cross, donate to the Red Cross.
Where's the money?
And then they have $100 million.
The reason why we developed our own group
Giving
is
the money
because
to
we were
nobody.
going to these people who lived there. We're like, what do you need? What can we get you? And we would go drive and get them supplies and bring it, knock on their doors.
And give them
Why
what they
were
needed.
we doing this? Like, not that I'm complaining, but I'm saying, I wish we had the funds because we would know it would go directly to
Didn't the
them.
Red Cross pull in like about 7 days after the storm?
Yeah,
I mean,
and-
what is that about?
Well, I
We're-
just
we're not-
heard-
we are not a third world country here, and I am sick and tired of funding our enemies around
Everybody.
the world when we cannot help our people. All right?
Everybody.
It's about time that the United States, that the people of the United States, say enough of funding the Middle East, people that hate our guts. Take that money and fix this problem, and help Oklahoma, and help every place that's a natural disaster.
Exactly.
Charity starts right
I
here
will
in your
say,
backyard.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Also, I just heard on the news the other day that the Red Cross had $100 million that they haven't that they got and they haven't distributed it to.
They want to give it to someone that, I hear they want to give money to the United Way.
Wait,
We
wait,
need
hold
people
on,
to help
wait.
us here.
Yeah, but I'm saying that there was $100 million that was earmarked for Sandy from the Red Cross that never went. That's
That's
there.
correct. That's
It's
the
still
red
there,
tape
and we're
BS
talking
that-
since October. So why isn't
But
this
people
money
have to be held
distributed?
accountable. Let me say this. People have to be held accountable. Why that hasn't been released should not happen. And people keep on passing the buck. I hear
Exactly.
so many stories from guys like this who, oh, well, their flood insurance won't cover it, but or somebody else's house insurance won't cover it. They all have different stories.
Because the insurance companies are covering
And you
each
know
other.
what? This happened with 9/11 too. You know, they kept on passing the buck to the different agencies, and then unfortunately, from a disaster, then they say, okay, we need to get together, and this is what they need to do for the future, and that's why we need to be proactive. And the weather is changing, and you're right. People should evacuate. It should be illegal. In fact, you should get arrested if you don't. You know, if they tell you to evacuate. But I do have to give kudos to some politicians, local politicians. I know, I mean, there may be more, but who I ran into a lot working was Nicole Meliotakis
Yeah, she was
Absolutely.
good.
She was
and
phenomenal.
Michael Grimm.
Yeah,
Yes,
they were
they were
very
You
good.
know,
they were very
Vincent
good.
Ignazio.
Diane Savino was down there too.
Diane Savino.
Okay, yeah, I'm sure there's plenty more, but these are the people that I really, usually I'm not, you know, I don't like politicians, but I have to say I was very, very proud, Joe Borelli also,
Yeah.
of our Staten Island politicians.
The whole thing is this though, but
Angel
you know,
was there.
our
Lanza, too.
our Staten Island politicians, okay, it seems to me that they're fighting for us, but we're getting nowhere. I see no improvement to the extent that I want to see it. I want to see a beach restored. I want to see people be able to feel safe in those low-lying areas,
Well,
that they're not going to get washed away.
I think,
saw this.
Yeah.
I saw down by where you live that there is no beach anymore.
Right.
All right. I saw low tide over there, and there was nothing but debris in the water. Pieces of houses, telephone poles, you name it, was in the water. How are people going to navigate in the ocean or in the Raritan Bay there if they don't clean this mess up? They're not cleaning it up fast enough. You know, I tell you, I think they're just dragging their feet here on Staten Island. Like I said, we're the forgotten child, and it certainly seems that way. You know, it certainly seems that way. I'd like to introduce Lisa's brother, Steve. Steve is a good friend of mine, and he was dealing firsthand, like Lisa, with the kind of issues that they were facing down there. And they were facing the worst of it, you know, besides the devastation, is the mold, because that's long-term. And that's not going to go away with a quick fix. You know what I mean? It really needs, the houses down there need to be rebuilt if you're gonna have a house down there. Now, I know these guys have to, Steve is gonna have his house lifted 10 feet, but it's costing him $10,000 a foot.
$10,000
Now,
per square.
why isn't
$10,000
the
per
federal
square.
government
square foot?
Yeah,
giving them
that's
the
all.
money to lift that, or give them a
$10,000
very
square foot
low-cost
they're
loan to
costing
do
them.
that?
That's
Well,
incredible.
I
Isn't it?
say that there's a lot of questions I'd like to ask the federal government. I mean, I know the whole mold issue too, even down to a local level. I mean, everybody was misinformed with that. And
I know.
like Teresa,
Yes.
you said it earlier. I mean, they actually told people to use bleach and water
And a sponge.
and with a sponge,
And a
and
sponge.
and that does not kill the mold.
No.
That doesn't do anything. It temporarily goes away, and then it's
It
just
comes
it's
back
just
in
no
2
good.
weeks.
Comes
It
right
comes
back.
back right in 2 weeks. And when we were going in there, I was going in there with a bunch of guys. We were going in, breaking down all the sheetrock, down to the beams, and some cases even the beams were just so bad.
Are you
And
guys getting sick yourselves from the mold?
oh, very sick. In fact, there's a picture. I don't know, control room, if they have it, but there's a picture of me in the white suit with a bottle of water because I got so sick. I had to go outside, and outside wasn't as bad as inside, but outside
The
too.
mold spores are in the air
The
down
smell
there.
was really ridiculous. And what we were doing was we were just doing our best to help these people. They were in a bad situation. Nobody was there to help them. Nobody
around
except
these
for
people,
us,
see.
regular, everyday people, helping them. And they were thanking us for being there
No, I
just to
understand.
have some kind of communication with them.
Because these people are your brothers and your sisters.
Absolutely.
Everybody on this island, we're a family here.
Yeah.
Because we're a small borough, okay, but we're a family here. And we're always I hate to use the word, but we're the bastard child. Nobody does anything for us here,
That's
The
the truth.
forgotten
okay?
borough.
True.
Whenever it comes
We're
to
the
something,
lost borough.
you know, we were supposed to secede, and somebody in Manhattan, Shelley Silver, manages to quash that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
If
time
we would've
that
joined
Staten Island
Jersey,
stand
we
up for
would've got more
themselves
respect.
and really, $15 for a bridge. You're the only borough that really has to pay to go home. You know, and you got to pay to come back to what? These guys come back to what? A flood zone? A war zone?
These are all I could say is that it's one of the few times where everybody does come together, and unfortunately it had to be at the stake of lives being lost. But everybody, no matter what race, religion, color,
Everybody was
nothing
helping. I
mattered.
know.
You know,
I know. I
everybody
saw
came
it.
together to help each other.
That picture right there, Steve.
Yeah.
Look at that little girl. She
Yeah.
was happy near Christmas time, was it?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
You just had a
We
little
we
party?
actually still keep in touch with her, and her mother is 19 years old with the baby. They were out of their house from
That
Sandy.
little face is what you's all volunteered for. That little face is what the money should be coming into this island for. From Washington, it should be coming in from Albany. All right, the governor
The
should
state.
open up all.
The city.
All. You know.
State, city.
It's
State, city, and federal.
state, city, and federal. But it's irreprehensible that
They should all come in.
they had this concert, this big concert, and all these stars came out. You never heard a dollar amount of what they actually collected. And they dispersed that money to various organizations that really didn't have too much to do with Sandy. Okay? We're destroyed here in New York. We took a beating. Our Rockaways, the water came from the bay right across. I was there. It was horrible. Okay? Broad Channel was always on stilts. Now it's horrible. Okay? Howard Beach, wiped out. Old Howard Beach, wiped out between two canals. I was there to see that. Oceanside was terrible. And Island Park over there. And yet, where is the buildup? Where is this money that if you give me $2 billion, I'll rebuild all of Newport Beach, brand new houses, okay? Why don't they do that? They have these modular homes, they can put them on foundations and build them, okay? Why don't they do them? Okay, they don't do it because somebody holds on to the cash, all right, for other reasons, and that's
charge you.
baloney.
I can answer you something also about the insurance. When we were working down at Cedar Grove Angels with Steve and also Tony, they didn't have flood insurance, and some insurance companies, the people that had flood insurance, they were sending their checks to the mortgage companies, to the banks. They were receiving nothing. They were receiving an amount of $100 and $250. Now, you tell me these people never used their insurance. How are you going to pay $100 or $250 to rebuild your homes? How are you going to do it? And they had flood insurance, some of the people. So the best logical thing was for them to do, we got attorneys to volunteer to sue them in 2 weeks. They made a settlement because they didn't want to go public. We got in contact with some of the radio stations. We got in contact with some of the newspaper people. And we also got in contact with some of the WPIX and others, Fox 5. They did not want their insurance companies being aired. So they settled and they gave the people the checks.
When I was hearing some things, like that lady that you introduced me to, the one that lost everything, and she lost all her, like you did, all the insides of her house, and they offer her $259. What can you do with that?
And she had flood insurance.
$259.
That was Nicole. She had flood insurance.
Really? I mean, it's unheard of. This is the freest country in the world, all right? The richest country in the world, I believe. You know, things are changing lately.
Yeah, but you got a lot of companies, even utilities, that are taking advantage of all the people that were hurt in disasters.
Okay.
Like Con Ed, gas company, National Grid.
Still billing you while they
Verizon.
had no service coming in?
I got an $1,800 phone electric bill from Con Ed. I was on a budget for $1,1000 a month. As soon as the hurricane hit, insanity took over. They didn't take it out of my checking account no more. And then after 6 months, they hit me up with an $1,800 bill.
Well, your house wasn't even habitable.
No.
Exactly.
I had Rapid Repair come in there, that was in December, rewire it, turn on the juice, of which I had a couple of heaters trying to dry out a wet house. I had another contractor who worked as a volunteer and just charged me for material and his workers that was working with him. And they basically gutted the house and rebuilt the house with 2x4s and all the floor joists and everything. Virtually gave it strength, so now I can have it raised. It cost me over $20,000 for materials. Okay? Really dramatic. He did in 2 weeks, was a miracle. Okay? As soon as you started talking about filing contracts and permits, he took off. His work was exemplary. And I was trying my best to get an SBA loan. I managed to get through the first step of it. I already paid $8,000 to an architect, so he built the plans up and we submitted it. I already gave a contractor that's over $7,000 to start everything rolling, and I'm waiting now to get the permits to raise the house up.
Steve, did you have to pay for that?
Yes, out of my own pocket.
Now that's criminal. That is criminal, taking advantage of people at the lowest part of their lives. You charge them, a city agency, how dare you? You charge these poor people for your services?
Exactly.
You should be jailed yourself.
But I worked hard. I retired from the Transit Authority. That was October 15th, was my last day of work. I worked hard all my life, 27 years with the Transit Authority, 6.5 with the DEP.
Tony, you also lost about $60,000, right? And you can get that back.
Property.
Personal property. They didn't give you anything. FEMA,
Nothing.
any other companies,
I
corporations.
applied everywhere. I've had every single TV, cable, radio, news network, countless newspapers. I've had more microphones and cameras stuck in my face than Robert De Niro, and I got nowhere. I got absolutely nowhere. Yeah, we'll take it under advisement. And I guess I got filed into the shredder.
Yeah, that's exactly what you
Absolutely.
said.
Exactly.
Like, I don't know this.
You're tossed into the system.
Sure. And they
Yeah.
call me periodically to see how I'm making out. I got a phone call today, this morning. How am I making out? Same as I was 7 months ago. How's that? Nothing.
Tell me, give me 60 grand, I'll be all right.
Okay.
And that's the thing too. I have to say that every single person that I came across who's going through this terrible experience, none of them heard anything from anyone. And even the rapid repair men, they were going around the blocks, but they had no idea what was in. They were actually themselves spraying with bleach to kill the mold. And these people are left there with no information at all.
We're gonna have to wrap this up. We
Can
got
I
about
just
2
make a
minutes.
statement?
I just wanted to say one thing though, Doc. We're gonna ask everybody to make a statement in the last 2 minutes that we have. Go ahead, Doc.
Well, I just want to say one thing. This Saturday marks the beginning of the 2013 hurricane season,
Yeah, I know.
and it ends on November 30th. Now, obviously, we don't, hurricanes in this area, talking about August, September, October, so, but we don't really know what's going to happen. Depends on the weather patterns, the jet stream, high-pressure systems blocking in the north and things like that. But we should be aware that we could be hit again.
We could be hit again. Teresa, what do you think?
All I could say, I wish they would help the people with the programs, the organizations that the governor just was released a large amount of money, and also our Mayor Bloomberg to help the Sandy people.
Tony, quick
They
synopsis.
claim renters do not qualify. They don't fit the criteria for any of that. I was told that verbally,
So
through
those-
phone wire and in person.
That's ridiculous because
And
you pay taxes.
how am I supposed to get normal again?
You pay taxes, you're entitled to everything.
Well, I'm
the
on
city has.
disability, but I pay taxes
Doesn't
for
matter.
many, many years.
Doesn't matter, you're on disability. You did your time, you paid your dues, they owe you.
From the city.
Steve?
I worked 27 years with the Transit Authority, exemplary, 6.5 with the DEP, exemplary. I got commendations from the head of the DEP in my file.
Okay.
I worked all that time helping the public. We need the help now.
Okay. All right.
We all need it. We're
Steve?
desperate for it.
And the only thing I could say is, I mean, I agree with everybody, but also, as far as volunteers, that's what brought the community together, like I said.
That's what
It was
always
a
brings us
wonderful,
together.
wonderful, positive thing, and people came from out of town and brought their families and made a trip out of it. And I thought that was nice. But I don't think that we need to do that. They should have had inspectors, health people, they should have had professionals at every door and
Yeah, that's
not
right.
allowed us to go in and get sick and have to do that.
Well, that's about it for the show tonight. I would like to revisit this subject again in another couple of months to see how things have changed in progress and to hear further stories on what's going on down there. Write your politicians. Get this show on the road here. We're Americans here. We should be treated fairly. Good night.